Hey Eric, how you doing?
Good, sir. How you doing?
I'm well.
Ready for the season to start?
Yes, I'm a little anxious.
I swear the phone rang off the hook today. It takes a few sunny days and everybody's when you coming? When you doing this?
hmm
All right, Mr. Bragg, Mr. Mullen, can you guys hear me? All right, so everybody is in as a panelist. So everybody please turn on your cameras.
Eric, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I apologize.
There you go.
I was getting yelled at by my wife.
That's typical, man, ain't it?
Yeah.
That's why I don't have one.
Well, I made the mistake, and it's been 25 years, unfortunately. I mean, fortunately, she can hear me.
Exact, dude. No, congrats on that, bro. I'm just giving you a hard time.
I understand. You know, it's funny. Before we start, you were talking about going to that pandemonium and talking about the OSHA guy who was saying how people are drowning on equipment.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
My brother-in-law said he was there at that.
Oh, was
And
he there? Okay. That was
yeah, he said people were hanging on that guy's every word.
yeah, yeah.
He
He
goes,
he
the stories he was telling were pretty crazy.
yeah, he I don't know if he'd retired from OSHA or was still with OSHA, but like yeah, he had all these examples and pictures and like
He said he had pictures of fires and stuff. He was like, this is what happens when you mess up, you know? He said it was terribly impressive, you know?
yes, yes. And yeah, there's not too many OSHA guys or gals that you want to have conversation with, but you know, this guy was one of them. So
He said he was pretty good. He goes, the drownings on equipment. And he goes, and not in deep water. That's the scary
oh,
part, you know?
yeah, yeah, yep.
Wow.
And the sad thing is these those poor individuals knew what was happening.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing they could do. So
Well,
sad stuff. Sad
figure if
stuff.
I'm going to start the meeting off on a horrible note. How's that sound?
Can you
uh,
see me?
do what?
Can you see me, Steve?
Steve, no, I can't. All I can see is your profile picture with your lovely
All
family.
right. How do I get?
It should be down there on the lower left where it says stop video. It should be a video camera with a line through it. If you click on it, it should open it up. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see that. Okay.
Yes,
Got
sir.
you. You see me now?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Steve, I did get 3 lectures recorded today. I just haven't put them online yet. So
Okay. As long as I know they're coming, that's all
yes,
I feel about.
I'm like I'm what is that? 2/3 of the way done. So we're 1/3. So I got like 4 more to do, but it doesn't take long to actually put them up. It just takes forever to record and edit the video. So all right. I hope everyone is doing fine. I swear I schedule these things on some of the best nights of college basketball, so I apologize for that. Carolina's getting ready to play, and then Wake Forest, which is my team, always and forever. And I've got tickets to it, but probably not going to go. Not, these 9 o'clock games get a little crazy. So, can you guys actually see the screen where it says pesticide history, chemistry, and formulations?
I can.
All right,
Yes,
you can. All right, good deal. So the share is
yes,
working.
sir.
All right. And so we're going to talk about the history, which, I'm a history buff. I love talking pretty much anything history. So, but learning the history of these pesticides and, you know, why we needed them, what they do. We'll talk a little bit about the chemistry. We'll talk a little bit about the formulations. It's just real good information and it's kind of fun. So we're not doing any math. We're not doing any calculations. We are just going to strictly talk about some history lessons here. And so we'll get started. And so our objectives, we will learn the history and the reason for the creation of pesticides. And when we start learning, the first person to come up with this idea, we're going to be like kind of shocked. I was shocked to find out that they were using pesticides that many centuries ago. But that's what I like about it. We'll learn the different forms that pesticides can come in, and we do a lot of granulars, we do a lot of spray. We don't do much fogging or any of that kind of stuff in lawn care, but the structural pesticide guys do, and some agricultural farms will use fumigation, especially if they're using like a plastic culture. And then we'll learn some of the basic chemistry that is behind our pesticides, and the periodic table and all of that stuff. And believe it or not, there's very few compounds out there or chemicals that we do use in the lawn care. And so basically what I want to talk about is pesticides is a tool. It's like a shovel, it's like a rake, it's like a calculator. They are tools that we use to actually take care of our clients' properties. They are chemical substances used to kill or control pests. And so we first need to know what a pest is, or is it a welcomed guest? And there's many situations where some of these pests in one situation is a bad guy and a good guy in another situation, all the way from insects to even plant material to even a fungicide, because some of our grass seeds are, infiltrated or, put into the seed some fungus that's actually going to kill insects when they arrive. So they may be dangerous to us in one situation, but very beneficial. So we've got to learn actually what these pests are, when they're good, when they're bad. And the number one reason that we have pesticide failures when we make an application is incorrectly identifying the pest. We missed it. We missed the boat altogether by thinking it was one pest and it was actually something else. But pests, they can include insects, mites, weeds, aquatic plants, diseases of plants that are caused by fungus, bacteria, or a virus, nematodes, snails, slugs, rodents, even birds, flies, mosquitoes, cockroaches, moths, beetles, caterpillars, etc. All of these could be a pest. Now, it's hard to think that, a bird would be a pest because they're beautiful. Everybody loves to hear the birds chirping. They love to see the birds flying. So it's kind of hard to think that. But, if you've got a garden, if you've got crops out there and they're, landing all over your shrubs, they're actually getting other pests. So they've become a pest themselves. So multiple situations with that. And with the pesticide market, the United States is the world's largest, representing 34% of the total use of pesticides. Now, we do feed the world, and we can't feed, ourselves and the bigger population across the country if we did not use these pesticides. And we'll see some of those numbers here on the next few slides. And so it is a love-hate relationship. Are pesticides damaging the environment? Are they actually harming our applicators? My dad recently, passed away with cancer. Was that from many years of, pesticide applications? He's been doing it since he was a kid, and he lived to be 75 years old. But he was a farmer, and, they did all kinds of applications back in the days, and they didn't wear the PPE that, we wear today. And actually farmers use some more dangerous stuff than we actually use in lawn care. John, you've got your hand raised. I didn't see that.
I had a quick question about the United States being the number one pesticide user in the world. Is that because we don't get numbers from China? Being they're a communist country, we don't get any of that information.
Yeah, that's possible. And what do they, and I'm thinking about everything that we do grow.
Right.
We're not only growing agricultural crops, but we grow a lot of ornamentals. Is China even growing the ornamentals that we do? And a bigger part of their agriculture is rice. And do
I
they
think it's just food in
import a lot of
general,
stuff?
trying to feed the population,
Yeah. But and their diet's a lot different than what we actually have. But I think you're right when it comes to not reporting, because they don't have like an EPA like we do. So their plants and everything are misusing, they're dumping pesticides in
Yeah.
rivers and streams and things of that nature. So
Okay.
uh, do-
I hate being, it's like we have 400 million people here. They have 2 billion.
yeah.
And then we're the biggest, pesticide users in the world. That seems a little bit, the calculations don't make sense.
So, but is China really even selling their food or exporting it? Because like I said, they've got to take care of the 2 billion people. We do have an excess of food, and that's another reason why we do export a lot of our food, and we give a lot of it away. Um, just because we do have, you know, great land, we have great, weather, we can actually do it. But when we look at this next slide here, John, we're gonna we're gonna see some numbers that is a little different. And um, whereas home and garden, we're only 7% of it out of that total. But back to that first line there. Again, a tool, more than 50 US firms manufacture pesticides, with 14 firms accounting for 85% of all pesticide sales. So there are some of the smaller companies out there that are doing it, but 14 larger firms are producing 85% of all the pesticides that is purchased here in the United States. With the agricultural market consuming only 72% of the pesticides sold in the U.S., industry and government use 21, home and garden only uses 7%. So we get a lot of criticizing from clients, the general public, saying that, lawn care, landscapers, we're out there slinging spray and pesticides all over the place. But it's really our agricultural market that has to use it, because they wouldn't be able to produce what they did if it wasn't for their pesticides. And then homeowners are going to pay more for pesticides than industry or agricultural, mainly due to the specialized formulations needed in smaller quantities, while agricultural will pay the least amount for it. So, but with this damage, the world's main source of food is plants, but they are susceptible to 80,000 to 100,000 diseases. That's a little bit hard to comprehend, that there could be 100,000 diseases out there that could kill our plants that is used for food. They also compete with 30,000 different species of weeds, some of which cause serious economic losses. So you have a cornfield, you have a soybean field, gets infested with the type of weed. These farmers could lose, everything. And there are around 800,000 species of insects, and about 10,000 of those are plant eating, leading to a loss of crops around the world. Well, out of those 800,000 species, too, 10,000 are going to eat the plants. Look how many hundreds of thousands are left that could still be a carrier of a disease that could actually kill people. A lot. And a lot of people, a lot of lives are saved by the use of pesticides by getting rid of some of these insects. And around 1/3 of the world's food crops are destroyed by pests during growth, harvesting, and storage. David, go ahead, my friend. David, you had your hand raised.
I've had a huge trouble with the greenhouse, or stem propagation. We did underground, or bottom heat and full spectrum lighting, and we went all out this year. But this year we've ended up with the fungus gnat. And it's amazing that everything you do and everything you add to everything with heat and light, fertilizer and whatnot, this one little thing comes out, and this crazy little fungus gnat I just cannot control. I've
Can't control.
tried everything through the soil, through the air, through everything, and it's gonna wreck us. It's gonna take thousands of dollars away from us.
Yeah. And what is it what are you growing, David?
We are growing stem cuttings of lantana, oleander, crepe myrtle, yaupon, boxwood, ligustrum, you name it.
Gotcha. Now, how many cuttings do y'all take a year?
I would probably say, I don't know, 6,000.
Okay. And so what are you doing for those gnats? I mean, what have you tried besides the lighting and the heat?
Well, the lighting and the heat and all that was mainly for stem propagation.
Yep.
Not for the gnats. For the gnats, we have done, and I can't remember the try something, the liquid that we applied to the soil, and then we tried BT,
Yeah.
which from what I've read, that's your best bet. But the crazy thing is the fly traps have worked amazing. I mean, they're like covered. They're coated in brown.
Well, good deal. I'm glad that's actually working. But guys, again, that last statement right there on this slide, around 1/3 of the world's food crops are destroyed by pests during growth, harvesting, and storage. So 1/3 of it's destroyed. Whatever the farmers grow, we're only depending on 2/3 of it for food consumption. And even with the use of pesticides, the U.S. will lose about 30% of its crop due to pests. Weeds can take away moisture and nutrients from the soil. Shade crops can hinder normal growth or contaminate the grains with seeds poisonous to humans and animals. And herbicides have allowed the number of U.S. workers who work on farms to drop from around 12% to 3% of the population back when this data was collected. And so we all know what the help situation's like. We can't find enough workers. If the farmers were depending on that much of 12% to actually work in their fields, to actually hand pull weeds and do all that stuff and not be able to use the pesticides, they wouldn't get done what they needed to get done. So again, pesticides does allow us to actually have that abundance of food and actually feed the food.
Eric,
Yeah, man.
could you imagine in the maintenance industry without pesticides? I mean, without Roundup. I mean, I hate to use it, but we use it all the time because
We do.
it's really. I mean, we couldn't do without it. I mean, really.
We
in
couldn't.
the maintenance industry, I don't know how. I mean, on big scale.
Yeah. And I don't know. Is anybody, experienced though, clients saying no spraying? We've run across a few of them.
I've got an organic customer.
Yeah.
That we use organic products, but it just it's you got to reapply them so much. It's just it don't work half as good. I mean,
They
I
don't.
know it's better for
It
you
costs-
probably, but it don't work as
It doesn't
good.
work and it costs more money.
Yeah.
It does. But and think about it, and probably weed control would be our, biggest thing. There are customers though that their tolerance for weeds is a lot higher than some. We've got clients that'll fire us over one, dandelion. But we have clients that are like, hey, I'd rather not have any spraying. I know I've got clover, but hey, it stays green all summer, blooms once a week. They're happy with
Yeah.
it. So,
I've
it
got a
just-
handful like that too.
they just want you to mow it but then they'll have you do other stuff. And so it's kind of one of those things where you don't want to pull up with your logo on your truck, when you see all the weeds in the yard and stuff. But,
Hey,
that's,
we do it all. We do properties like that, and we do real nice properties. It's just, whatever pays the bills.
yeah, yes. Um, but it's hard to send a crew out to hand pull weeds, ain't it?
Oh
Like
yeah.
Oh,
you,
yeah.
you can't do that. It's just economically not feasible. And that whole thing when you start talking sustainability, well, being profitable is part of being sustainable. And if you're losing money at it, then you can't be sustainable losing money, because you will go out of business. If you look at that triangle, those circles that merge together, with economics, being one of it. So, but we've lost clients because we're like, we spray, when we have clients that, hey, once a week, or once a month, we come in with weed eaters and we just bust down the weeds, we mow, blow, and go when we go there. And a lot of these are some of the wealthier people. They just don't want to deal with having pesticides, because a lot of them are empty nesters. They've got their dogs running around on the yard. They just don't want any chemicals like that. So, and I can understand that. I mean, that's their choice. And it presents an opportunity to bring in IPM, or integrated pest management, and sell some of those services. But still, with weed control, that's you're gonna have to spray something to get them out of the yards. You can't hand pull it. And so, with this organic farming, we talked about organic lawn care. And one of the guys from NC State, I can't remember his name. I got to look him up, and I should know it. But Dr. Grady Miller, did a presentation at the Green and Grow show back in Greensboro in January on organic lawn care, and it was good. It was good to hear somebody else talk about that. And he said organic lawn care can happen, but it's not, they're not going to have the same effects as using the chemicals that we do. It's just not going to be as a good looking turf, and it's going to cost more. So it just depends on the client, and getting to know that client and what it is that they want. And even with organic farming, conventional farmers use synthetic chemical products. However, organic farmers use naturally occurring chemicals such as rock phosphate, limestone, manures, nitrogen from leguminous plants, and then substance with pesticidal properties that are produced by certain plants themselves. They are taking, a lot of growth retardants actually come from, plants themselves too. But organic is often thought to mean natural, but this is not necessarily true. And I think the word, in my opinion, humble opinion, the word organic has just been used way too much. It's, we're buying organic tomatoes in Harris Teeter here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, that's, being shipped from Florida, that's being shipped from California, and they're put on the truck green, and they're put on there with ethylene gas to actually turn them red by the time they pull into the grocery store here in town. And there's nothing organic about that. There's nothing sustainable about that when you ship across country. I'd much rather buy local, and local to me means more organic than anything else. And what people don't understand, they come to our farm a lot, our strawberries, and that's the first question they ask us. Hey, are your strawberries organic? And I have to turn around and ask them. I was like, well, ma'am, before you asked that, you asked us what the price was, and you were complaining about the price. My plants are grown organically, but I'm not going through the certification process through the USDA, because I would have to charge, almost double of what I'm charging now, because of the fees and what we have to pay to actually get the strawberry certified organic. So you got somebody coming in there wanting to buy organic products, complaining about the cost. That just doesn't happen. You can't do it. Now, do we grow ours, in a environmental friendly way? Absolutely. We're not using pesticides. We're hand pulling weeds. We're mowing between the rows. We're not spraying anything. So, typically it is organic. They are grown sustainable. We're just not getting the certification. And really, what is the definition of organic? It's really anything that's containing carbon. That is the true definition of organic. So with organic and conventionally grown plants, they both absorb almost all their nutrients from the soil in inorganic forms. Both conventional and organic farmers are largely powered by fossil fuels, but the production of synthetic fertilizers and pesticides require more energy to be used by conventional farmers. Now, I know everybody's kind of on the electric vehicle kick, and there's some good ones out there, but do you honestly think our farms and our construction industry, meaning heavy earth movers and stuff, will they be able to do the work they do on solar or rechargeable power as they do with diesel? There's
No.
no way.
Nope.
In my opinion. Does anybody differ in that?
Nope.
I just don't see
No.
a motor grader running all day on batteries.
No,
Absolutely not.
we're hundreds of years from any battery being able to sustain that. So
That kind of, yes. And I have a good friend that's, an Army pilot in the reserves still, and he's an airline pilot, and flies for DHL, and he swears that in 10 years that these commercial jets will be flying battery. And I'm like, well, dude, the weight of them is going to prevent that. So, but there's people that's just that believes in it that much that they're not really seeing reality. Tony, you got your hand up?
Well, just a comment about the electric vehicles. I think that the electric gurus are trying to go after all of the market that can sustain electric vehicles, knowing that the construction industry, the heavy machinery industry, probably is light years away. They'll be nuclear before they're electric. So
Yeah.
they're trying to convert everything else to electric that's feasible.
Yeah.
I don't know how feasible all this stuff is, and how sustainable it is. But anyway,
Yeah.
I'm not an electric car guru.
I'm not either. I love my diesel trucks. And I always will. And I probably will never own an electric vehicle.
Yep.
Just don't think. Now, do I have some electric backpack blowers? Yes. The little handhelds. Milwaukee makes an awesome one. Husqvarna makes an awesome one. I mean, I've actually held like 2 Husqvarnas, and it almost feel like you could take off, like almost like a jetpack and fly with it. So, they are perfecting things like that. The autonomous mowers that, are rechargeable, is a good thing. And I think that's probably going to benefit us with the way some of these, Crest, they're actually setting up landscape contractors as like a dealer to go and actually install these for people, homeowners, and program them and stuff. And so it's another service that you can offer to that client who is, more on the environmental friendly side, who would love to have that. And then you go, once every other week to blow off, maybe do some edging and stuff like that. But the mower, is mows every single day. But for the most part, our skid steers and, our motor graders, things like that, we're going to have the diesel fuel. But organic farming also leads to lower crop yields than conventional farming. So we're not going to be able to have that extra food to feed the world. We're not going to have that extra to be able to sell. So, that's another bad thing of it. And so with the history, over the years, crops have been decimated by disease and insects, which has led to famine in many parts of the world. Animal and human disease have been carried and spread by insects. Some examples include the equine encephalitis and the bubonic plague. Malaria led to millions of deaths, and there are still so many people dying from malaria each day. We have the cure for that. We have the preventative. We got the malaria vaccine in the Army. I don't know how many times, whenever we left country, they were protecting us from that stuff. Third world countries just don't have access to it. And with Homer the Greek, old school was the first to have been recorded referring to the use of a pesticide in about 1000 BC when he mentioned burning sulfur to fumigate homes. So even before Christ, they were thinking of ways that how can we get these bugs out of the house? How can we do this? And they were doing, such things as burning sulfur. But it wasn't until the mid 19th century that pests were successfully controlled with chemicals. And they should only be used when the pests are at their most vulnerable. Again, that goes back to correctly identifying the pest. If we don't know what it is and we incorrectly identified it, we've got the wrong biology. So once we identify it, then we need to study the biology and figure out when that pest is most vulnerable. If it's already an adult and it's already there, we may not be able to do nothing about it. We may be able to just use our crop insurance and let the bugs, have it. Also, you've got to determine what is that economic threshold. Is the pesticide application going to cost us more than what we can yield from the crop of what's left? Sometimes it could even, drop us further into the hole. When we make that application, we may lose everything versus just kind of, being able to harvest what we can from the crops. And that whole integrated pest management, it was designed for agriculture, and they have to determine those thresholds. Who had a question? I didn't see a hand.
I did.
Hey, Grant.
I knew this one farmer. He tried organic farming for a while, and it just wasn't profitable for him. I mean, I know some people it's profitable, but he couldn't make any money at it. He had to deal with weeds, and it was just tough. It was tough for him, so he went back to regular.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it is. I mean, because it's going to take more people. It kind of like that. Just with the use of pesticides, they went from 12% down to 3% of employment. When you do the things, organically, it's just going to take more personnel. It's going to cost you more money. It's going to make the groceries is the biggest bill that we have now today. Especially, a family of 4, a family of 5, that's their biggest expense, and groceries just keep increasing. And so even with more organic regulations and people wanting the organics, it's going to cost more. You can eat junk food cheaper than you can healthy food. And that's just the way it is. But this whole benefit versus risk, IPM, that'll combine the best of all methods of pest control to address the problem and cause the least economic injury due to pest. It was first invented for agriculture, and it is, number one, identifying the pest. You got to monitor your crops. Same thing with our landscapes. We have to be there. You have to take inventory. What's going on? Is there anything changing? What is the neighbors doing? All kinds of things can bring in those new pests, but we have to monitor it. And that's the first key to success in an IPM program is monitoring and being there. Pesticides can leave residue on foods and have unintentional effects on birds, fish, wildlife, pollinating insects, and more. And so that is, where the danger is, especially using like wettable powders and stuff like that. You're actually seeing, that chemical dry on the plants. Pesticides increase productivity and drastically increase the amount of food that farmers can produce while also saving around 1/3 of the total crops. So that's great. We're still going to lose 1/3 anyway, just from transport, harvest, and storage, that we're losing 1/3 of the crops. Pesticide saves an additional 1/3. So if we didn't have pesticides, we would only really technically be able to harvest and consume 1/3 of the crops that we're using. Then we wouldn't be able to feed the world. And it still breaks my heart to this day that there are young kids going to bed hungry every single night when we do have an abundance of food. With food and illnesses, due to an increase in population over the years, there is pressure to also increase agricultural production to meet the need, since there is roughly 56% of the world population that is undernourished. Again, heartbreaking numbers. It should not be that way. Higher food production rates in the U.S. compared to other countries can be attributed to increased crop varieties, increased size and capacity of farming equipment, and the use of fertilizers and pesticides. Now, guys, I know, John, you were talking about, with the whole thing with China and everything. And, this just reminds me of our soil science book that we use at the college, and what our students actually have to pay for it here when the publishers are giving those books away to third world countries who know really nothing about soil science, who know nothing about plant science. We almost seem to take advantage of the knowledge that we already have, with our, state supported schools, the, NC States, the North Carolina A&Ts, our 2 land grant agricultural colleges, and the information and the knowledge that come from those 2 schools, just like the other agricultural schools in each state. They don't have those in other countries. And so we are able to grow that food and actually have, more than enough, even though there are still kids going to bed hungry. Millions of people are killed or disabled annually due to insect-borne illnesses. Again, that needs to stop because we have the chemicals to take care of that. And then even economic losses of around $90 billion annually come from insects, disease, weeds, and other things. Not good. $90 billion. These poor farmers out there. And, we say poor farmers, but, what has the agriculture industry gone to? It's gone to corporate farming. It's the big companies buying up these farms and, doing the farms. What we really need to get back to is the locally grown food, and everybody having gardens and being a farmer's market. That's where you're going to buy the freshest, safest produce ever, is stuff grown here locally in our backyards. And I wish, and I think there is a movement towards that, because you're seeing farmers market pop up all over the place. But what we don't want though is people going, to some of these produce warehouses where they're bringing in all the stuff from Florida and California and everywhere, buying it and then taking it to the farmer's market. You want to make sure that it's directly coming from the backyards.
I know, Eric, you say that and you go to the place on Billy Graham and you see people selling pineapples,
Yeah. They're not from North Carolina, are they? So, those are organic, right? They were grown here locally. But yeah, man, it's it is a crazy situation. You go into the store and people are buying the organic milk, they're buying the organic this and the organic that, and the grocery bill just keeps getting higher. But is it really organic? I don't know. The USDA comes in and certifies it, but those companies are paying big bucks to have that sticker on it. But I don't know. I feel like farmers and I feel like landscapers, we are true stewards of the land. We don't want to harm Mother Nature. We're doing everything the right way. And if we do have to use a pesticide, we're applying exactly what we need. No more, no less. We're doing the right thing. These homeowners are more damaging than us or the farmers, definitely, with not reading labels and putting out exactly what they need. So I feel good, with our pesticide license and the training and the testing that we have to go through just to get that pesticide license.
Eric,
Yes, sir.
we we just did some applications today, and the way we do things on spraying turf, I know a lot of guys will spray the whole turf, but like if it don't need it, I mean, we just spot spray weeds when we get it when we get our turf under control. We don't have to do nothing but spot spray. That way, we're not wasting a bunch of spray, and it just
100%.
Yeah. So
Love that. Love. I mean, and you're right, and you're saving yourself money,
right.
and you're saving the, you'd be breaking the law if you were putting that pesticide out where it's not needed.
Right.
But a lot of these big lawn care companies, they mix everything in one tank and they make one application over the entire lawn. They don't spot spray, and they say it's cheaper with the help situation, but look at the price of chemicals.
Oh yeah, that's one of the reasons we do the way what we do. Not only in the environment, but it costs a lot less. Spray's expensive now.
Exactly. And if they're on our lawn care program, they shouldn't have that many weeds to begin with, right?
Right.
Once they've been on it for several applications, and getting a good healthy stand of grass is the best way not to have weeds.
So, and mowing it tall enough to where it'll shade out a lot of them weeds.
Exactly. And these homeowners, they don't want to hear 4 inches mowing.
That's right. They don't.
They want it short. They want it shorter. But a good healthy stand of 4-inch fescue, you're not going to have encroachment of, Bermuda grass. You're not going to have those weed seeds germinating. It's a good thing. But with chemistry background, everything is composed of chemical elements, and the smallest part of an element is called the atom. Elements are pure, and all atoms in the element are alike. It's not possible to change an element. Some examples are oxygen and nitrogen. Elements are often represented by their chemical symbol, and oftentimes this is 1 or 2 letters from the element name. So a compound is a combination of 2 or more different elements, such as water, H2O, salt, NaCl. When different atoms combine, they will form a molecule, which is the smallest part of a compound. Chemical compounds are formed when 2 or more elements join together by chemical bonds, and only 21 of the more than 105 chemical elements are used to produce pesticides. So, 20% easily is only used to make our pesticides. Almost all pesticides are organic compounds. What if we told that to our clients who are requesting organic lawn care? I mean, seriously. And I told you, the true definition of organic means that they contain carbon. And so these pesticides are organic compounds because there's carbon in their molecules. Those with no carbon are called inorganic compounds. But a lot of these pesticides are organic. A chemical formulation is the printed description of a molecule in a chemical compound, but the structural formula uses lines and symbols to visually show the bond structure between the atoms. Stereo formulas are 3-dimensional, almost looks like the little pixie sticks and stuff that we put together as a kid, but it shows this chemical formula, and they allow the reader to visualize the spatial configuration of the molecules. And so what are pesticides? Again, remember, it is a tool, but it is a generalized name and means killer of pests. Words ending in "side" are different classes of pesticides. For example, herbicides and fungicides. They are legally classified as economic poisons in more states, and federal laws are defined as any substance used for controlling, preventing, destroying, repelling, or mitigating any pest. So if we're spraying diesel fuel on grass or the farm around fence posts, it is used as a pesticide. It would be considered a pesticide. We shouldn't do it. It's illegal, but there are people that still do it. The toxicity of the pesticides is given as the LD50, meaning expressed as milligrams of toxin per kilogram of body weight, and that is the dose that usually will kill 50% of test animals. Now, that number is still good to know, but us humans, we're not the test animals. So really, how much does it relate to how it would affect us? The common name, when we're naming them, the common name for a compound is selected by the appropriate professional scientific society and approved by the American National Standards Institute and the International Organization for Standardization. For example, insecticides are selected by the Entomological Society of America, and they all have to be approved by the EPA. Common names have to be. The proprietary name or brand name is chosen by the manufacturer or formulator, and there can be different brand names given to a similar pesticide with different formulations. And because pesticides are used worldwide and need to be easily identified, several scientific organizations are involved in their naming. A pesticide is manufactured in its mostly pure form and then formulated, meaning it is processed into a usable form for direct application or dilution to then be applied. Formulation is the processing of a pesticidal compound by any method that will improve its properties of storage, handling, application, effectiveness, or safety. This is normally the commercial preparation of the product prior to actual use. Prices of pesticides largely depend on the type of formulation, with the highest type being a pressurized aerosol. And luckily, in lawn care, we're not doing much of that at all, if any. Traditionally, pesticides are applied as water sprays, water suspension, oil sprays, dust, granulars, and more than 75% of all pesticides are sprays. Emulsifiable concentrates are concentrated oil solutions of technical grade pesticides with enough emulsifier to make it easy to mix with water and instantly used. They cause the oils to completely disperse in the water, and if a precipitate does form, more emulsifier can be used or added to the concentrate. With wettable powders, we do use a lot of wettable powders, and we do use a lot of ECs in lawn care. But our wettable powders are concentrated powder with a wetting agent that can be mixed with water and then sprayed. Many insecticides for gardens are found in this form because it is unlikely to burn the plant leaves. With water-soluble powders, SP, they are made from water-soluble liquids or solids, and dissolve in water immediately without needing to be mixed. Oil solutions are ready to use and are used directly on pests. They contain no dust, diluent, emulsifier, or wetting agent. Soluble pellets are convenient, but not very effective and do not provide an even distribution. With flowable or sprayable, F or S, these are suspensions, and they are a pudding-like mix that can be combined with water. But it does not settle to the bottom of a sprayer, and since it is thicker, it is more likely to stay on target with where it is spread instead of blowing around. Ultra-low volume concentrates are available only for commercial use. They are the product in its original form, or it has been dissolved in minimal solvent. They are dispersed in a very fine spray. With fogging concentrates, they are sold for public health use to get rid of pests such as flies and mosquitoes, and by generating droplets of the pesticide. Dust are the easiest to produce and apply, but they are the least effective because they aren't likely to stay on foliage unless it is wet. And I do not like putting out a dust. You got to wear the mask and everything like that. It's just, to me, a little bit too much trouble. And to produce an aerosol, the active ingredients must be soluble in petroleum solvent that is in its pressurized condition. When the aerosol is used, the petroleum solvent evaporates quickly and leaves microscopic drops of the pesticide in the air. Since these drops are left in the air, it is advised that the user inhale as little as possible when in the spraying area or wear your PPE. The aerosols are best used on flying or crawling insects. Some can be set into a locked position to continue spraying until the container empties. Granular pesticides are small pellet size and can be used any time of the day, since there is not a worry about them drifting due to winds as they are applied, and these are often used when planting to help protect roots. Fumigants are plastic strips and pet collars that are full of an insecticide, it slowly works to the surface of the material and evaporates slowly. Impregnated materials can be used to contain different pesticides. It can be used to touch weeds or ward off certain insects. Baits can be used to kill pests by bringing them in with something they enjoy, but incorporating small amounts of toxic pesticides. And then slow release insecticides can cause the effectiveness of chemicals to last 2 to 4 times longer than any other forms of insecticides. And that brings us to the conclusion of the slides. And we got just a minute or two left. Any comments, questions, or concerns, or just what's going on out there in the world today? I know everybody's hot and heavy for the season to start. Everybody's getting out that first round. Lime's been put out, soil tests have been done. Just ready for some 90-degree
Anybody,
days.
Eric, you got any information on Poana? I mean, I've been doing some spraying with the POA constrictor and some stuff like that.
Where are you
I'm getting
located?
my ass handed here in Charlotte,
You're in Charlotte. Okay.
Yeah. And it's everywhere. I mean, I'm trying to control it because people around the properties that I maintain are not doing their job.
Not doing their job.
And it's killing me. But I've been spraying the POA constrictor and some of the other chemicals, and it's like, I don't know if it's not contributing to the problem. You know what I mean? I hate being that way, but I've been using it for a couple of years now, and I'm not seeing a lot of control with it.
Gotcha. Anybody have any suggestions for them? We don't have much, of that up here. Yeah, I mean, you're getting it in your Bermuda.
Yeah, we POA constrictor. I haven't gotten much post-emergent control with it unless it's really young.
Right.
We've
Like
got
November, like what, October, November, you know what I mean?
Yeah, when it first comes out, September. I mean, you put it down as a pre-emergent, and then if you have some coming up, you got to catch it early. Once it gets up, an inch or two, it's not going to. I've had the same situation with certainty in warm season grasses, where you follow the label rate, and I'm telling you, it doesn't work.
No, it does. I mean, that's what I'm seeing. I mean,
we've had a.
it's not cheap.
You've got. I mean, even the label says, 2 gallons of formulation per 1,000 square feet. So you really got to wet the plant when you're using certainty to get it on. You can't just brush by it, especially if you're using a backpack sprayer. I've gone to a kind of a drenching nozzle,
Okay.
a T-jet nozzle. It's a white one, and it seems to give me better control because I'm putting out a greater volume from the backpack sprayer. From the conventional nozzles on a tank sprayer, I mean, you typically get enough volume to wet it, but you really got to wet it. But with POA constrictor, once it gets up, I don't know what stage, but I know once it gets up above an inch or so, you're not going to get good control. Yeah.
It concerns me because, I mean, if it starts to get warm, you can burn the hell out of the grass with that stuff too. So,
yeah. Well, the good news is as it gets warmer, the Poana will turn yellow and make your nice green lawn have yellow.
Oh, and the customers they rave about that. So,
yeah, they love it. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions, comments?
We're limited on Poana control in fescue.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not that you're basically stuck with pre-emergents.
Yeah. You got to go earlier and earlier from what I'm seeing with the.
Well, this year it's been crazy. I mean, I'm in Cary in North Carolina, and it's it's warms up here. Our soil temperature is already above 50, way above 50 degrees.
Yeah, I mean, you're the same situation I am. I mean, it's crazy here. So, yeah, it's what I signed up for, right?
Yeah.
Right.
The life of a landscaper. I'm glad I only have a few more years of this crap left.
We got many more. John, you're a young man.
That's not what telling me. All right, boys. Good talking to you.
All right. I'll go ahead and upload these rosters tonight. You should see it on your license here in about 30 minutes. So
All right.
Thank you.
yes, I
Eric,
appreciate it. Thank
Thank
you
Thank
all.
you so much, man.
Thanks,
All
Eric.
right.
Take care.
Eric, Eric,
Somebody says,
Eric, you still there, Eric? This is David Bigford. I never could get my screen picture up. And I was a little worried about trying to do some things while the presentation was going on.
gotcha. Yeah. It just down there in the lower left, you should see like a little video camera icon. It probably has a red line through it.
Yeah,
If you click on that, it would remove the
red line.
red line.
Well,
Are you on a
Yeah.
computer or like an iPad?
I'm on a laptop.
Okay. So you probably just may have to select the actual camera.
It just doesn't seem to be doing anything. I'm not sure what's going on, but I'll get it straightened out before the next one. But you've got my information anyway.
Yeah, I got your information. You're talking, so they will never audit me, but that 1 in a million chance that they did, you're talking, so they'll see you.
Okay. All right. Appreciate it.
All right, good deal. Appreciate you guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.